Hi, my name is Anthony Vilhauer. Thanks for joining us in this presentation entitled Bean to Coffee Sourcing, Value Opportunities for Starbucks Operations and Supply Chains. Let me introduce you to the solutions team. Andrew has worked on financial information. Ryan has looked into operations and solutions management, as well as kept us on track as a leader and organizer. Renee has made sure that all our details are taken care of, including researching QR codes and the coffee journey. And I've worked on the back end with this presentation as well as the slide deck and putting it all together for you here today. Now, in this presentation, we will go over in some detail some of the main challenges that Starbucks faces, but that'll dovetail with a solution outline in which we've color-coded it so Starbucks can focus in on know your product, manage your supply chain, reward your customers, and then on the back end, we made sure to put together a cost-benefit analysis as well as a detailed program timeline that spans approximately a year. We've not forgotten a good risk management plan, and then we've tied it up with a very succinct conclusion. At the outset, our group had a very general but main question. How can Starbucks add value and create competitive advantage? In this SCQ slide, you will see that the situation is very nuanced with the various complications that Starbucks has. First of all, Starbucks is a major importer and is reported buying over 650 million pounds of coffee in 2018, and obviously that number has grown in the years after as well as the years going forward from 2021. Coffee is delivered to customers in a very extensive supply chain and what is also termed a global value chain. And there are three main phases that will span approximately 4-month journey across the global value chain. Obviously, the growing period for coffee beans is much more extensive and longer than that, but that is what we wanted to focus on here. Last in the situation, the global coffee market is valued at $27 billion, and as you can see, is going to grow in spite of the challenges of COVID-19 and the pandemic we faced with a quarantine. Some of the complications that we really focused on are this. First of all, everyone knows that there are coffee shops all across America, North America, and sprouting up all the time. And so there's a very crowded marketplace along with a complex and opaque supply chain, meaning that the supply chain that goes from predominantly the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere has many, many touch points for coffee beans. Coffee is often traded as a commodity, and therefore it loses some of its value even though it has very unique traits, unlike many commodities that are so-called dime a dozen. So here's three questions that our group decided to pose. How can Starbucks enhance the specialty coffee's unique qualities? We hit that first of all because we realized coffee initially has unique qualities and is not initially or necessarily a commodity at the outset. Second of all, we realized that there needed to be the ability for Starbucks to use granular proprietary data to enhance its operations because this was a very extensive supply chain network. And the last question we focused in on is how can Starbucks bring this information to individual consumers? But we didn't stop there. We asked how can they create a richer, more engaging experience with the specialty coffee? And that ties into consumer engagement, longevity of a consumer. Also, instead of cross-selling products, there is cross-buying. But all of this together, you see that there are some major challenges, but also some great opportunities that Starbucks has.
So how does Starbucks respond to these conditions? We believe Starbucks has an opportunity to respond by employing a 3-layer technology stack with QR codes tracking at its core. A QR code tracking system would be used to develop out a rich data stream across a supply chain, extending data reach to the earliest stage of coffee bean cultivation through the supply chain and Starbucks operations to customer delivery. To support this data stream, the established data stream would be integrated into Starbucks' current supply chain management software and branded towards customers through various customer touchpoints, specifically through Starbucks' customer mobile app. By doing so, Starbucks will better be able to know its products, gain richer clarity into its existing supply chain, and reward customers with information demonstrating a commitment to specialized and high-quality coffee. Overall, this approach is intended to help Starbucks better differentiate its products that travel through a crowded commodity market, gain greater management control into its supply chain, which can affect product quality, and cultivate a richer customer relationship by bringing socially conscious and discerning customers closer to the source of their product. By connecting QR code tracking labels to coffee beans at cultivation, suppliers may tag the beans with relevant cultivation information that impact bean quality and profile. In addition, suppliers may tag any personal information that may tell a story and provide context for the product. Once beans enter the supply chain, their journey will be captured at supply chain checkpoints, and information will be tagged to the product depending on which path the beans take towards the customers. Due to supply chain output variability, bean quality and profile is affected as it travels across the supply chain. By capturing data through this journey, Starbucks will be able to have a more granular understanding of its product. By understanding this, Starbucks may improve its ability to control for and differentiate its final product once it reaches customers. Managing your supply chain. Supply chain variability not only affects Starbucks' final coffee products, but also affects Starbucks' supply chain operations and management. By integrating QRC tag data into Starbucks' current supply chain management software, Starbucks may continuously monitor and run analytics on the supply chain to gain greater control of both process and final coffee product. This will allow Starbucks to better identify and exploit process and product features that deliver value to Starbucks and its customers.
Our third recommendation is to reward Starbucks customers. We know that we have a plethora of socially conscious consumers that would benefit from knowing that the coffee that they are drinking was sourced in an ethical manner and that they would be willing to pay an additional premium. Being able to view details of the supply chain in regard to the journey of the coffee from bean to cup would give consumers this level of visibility. The current Starbucks mobile application will be enhanced so that customers can scan their cups or in-store signs to access the product information. Customers will also be able to provide a rating on the coffee. Based upon the rating and feedback from other customers, the application will provide recommendations on other specialty blends. The ratings will also be provided back to the farmer so that they can perhaps see customers' preferences. We believe that in addition to the intrinsic value of providing insight into the supply chain process to the customer, there is a large economic value. With the 650 million pounds of coffee that Starbucks sources being stored in 150-pound bags, the cost to add a QRC code to all coffee bags would come in around $22,000. We believe that the enhancements to the current Starbucks application will cost about $333,000 when completed by internal application developers. Based on Starbucks' total beverage sales of $14 billion in 2020, we are assuming that in the first year providing specialty coffee, there will only be a modest 1% adaptation rate. With specialty coffee commanding a price premium of 130%, we believe that it is reasonable to expect an additional $186 million in revenue in the first year that this is rolled out. As you can clearly see, the financial benefits significantly outweigh the cost to implement. Please note that the assumptions and calculations for these estimates can be found in the appendix.
Two-dimensional QR stickers readable by smartphone will be placed on the cherry containers as soon as the cherries are picked. Each farm and each location on the farm will have a unique ID, which will be associated with the QR sticker. At each process step in the coffee beans journey, the barcode is read by a worker's smartphone, allowing use of existing technology, keeping costs down. And this data is then transmitted to the supply chain management software that then associates this information with the particular ID number on this batch of beans. Data can be captured based on the station in which the barcode was scanned. For instance, in Step 3, the barcode on the batch of beans will be scanned when the beans enter either the hand pulping area or when they enter the mechanical pulping area. Each smartphone or smart device will be associated with a particular station, in this case the hand station or the mechanical station. Depending on which smart device scanned the barcode, will link this batch of beans with that particular process. This specific barcode will remain with this batch of beans throughout its entire journey. This data will then be integrated with the existing customer-facing application for a seamless transition of information to the customer. Once the beans are in their final package, a new barcode, customer-facing, will be printed and applied to the package. This customer-facing barcode will then be associated with the original ID for this batch of beans and the information already stored in the supply chain management software regarding this ID. The entire bean journey can then be accessed by the consumer or the original farm via the existing app. This method of tracking can also be integrated as part of the IoT entry for Starbucks' existing blockchain initiative.
And so for the question, how long would product implementation take? We see product implementation requiring approximately a year for developing, testing, and launching, with continuous monitoring and program refinement occurring after the 1-year mark with program launch. Program development and launch activities are segmented into 5 categories. First, product kickoff would begin with research and supplier commitment. Then we would have materials acquisition, deployment, and testing. We would then move on to team training, then customer touchpoint integration, and finally launch with continuous development.
The risk management plan that we have formulated has 5 main components with really 3 areas to consider. First of all is the upfront cost. Andrew has chronicled how the cost is there, but the rewards are significantly high. And we can mitigate this by really just making sure that it's ran as a trial and proof of concept, as well as entering into some rental agreements so we limit our exposure. Second, we know that there could be limited customer buy-in. This is somewhat of a risk, and the probability is there, but as long as we test this in certain markets and provide the value to the customers, we feel confident that there will not be issues. Now, there is significant risks in this last 3 areas because it's dealing with areas of the supply chain that Starbucks does not control. First of all, farmers don't necessarily trust big corporations, and that is not too much of a surprise. First of all, we want to educate this customer and then set minimum guaranteed profits for the farmers. In this third area as well, brokers are uneasy about expectations. And this is a very high probability because they are the man in the middle, so to speak. But we want to work with them because they are part of the supply chain and a great value and help us limit our risk. And third of all, this relies on a lot of smartphones, cellular, and Wi-Fi technology in remote areas, and we want to make sure to research the coverage areas as well as work with suppliers to make sure that they have the needed hardware.
In summary, leveraging QR codes, supply chain management with integrated analytics, and the Starbucks app, Starbucks can capture the detailed bean journey, ensuring bean purity, as well as providing the story to the consumer of what gave this particular cup of coffee its unique flavor, resulting in a richer customer relationship, leading to new market engagement, customer retention, and a profitable new sales avenue. Immediate consumer feedback can be shared with the farmer for upstream value flow, supporting Starbucks' global responsibility initiatives.
Hey, this is Anthony. Thank you for viewing this presentation. We appreciate you considering our recommendations, and if you have any questions at all, please see our appendix slides that accompany this presentation with the main deck of slides that we prepared. Or if you want to contact us personally, we'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you for this opportunity.